Hello everyone, my name is Jaden and welcome back to Somewhere, Someplace, Sometime of Significance. Today we're going to be talking about both of Greta Gerwig's films. It's not going to necessarily be a movie review because it's going to be talking about both films at once, so it's going to be a Greta Gerwig double feature. This is the first movie-related unscripted video I've done since the one before the Damien Chazelle video, and I decided to start to give my videos because they got really out of hand, really boring, really slow, and now I want to try to jump back into it where I could talk about something for a decent amount of time with giving decent descriptions and stuff. This is going to be in the movie playlist. Today we're going to be talking about both of Greta Gerwig's films, Lady Bird and Little Woman. I do not have the Blu-ray disc of Little Woman, but I have seen it. I just watched these films recently enough, so they're still fresh in my mind. So yeah. They're both written and directed by Greta Gerwig, and one of them over the other. The reason why I didn't want to make this like a dual review is because at some points I will be comparing them. Just not my choice, it just will happen. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Roll intro. So about last week, at the time of this release, I finally caved in and watched Lady Bird. I've been meaning to watch this movie for a long time. It has been sitting in my Netflix list for months, and I've been told by multiple people to watch it. I finally did, and I don't regret it. I tried to watch it once before. I got about 10 minutes in, and then I fell asleep. I was also really in a bad mood because I watched A Ghost Story prior. And rewatching it with this fresh mindset that it's a good movie and nothing setting it down, I'm really glad I gave it another shot, because my god is this movie great. I don't want to say it's a perfect movie, because it is. I can't really point out any major flaws with it. It does feel really real in the fact that these are stuff that could happen, like these are conversations that anyone could have. But the main flaws is mainly because in the middle section, it kind of just, the film, probably my biggest flaw with it is that it goes on a little too many tangents, but that's really it. Like, even the side characters, Timothée Chalamet's characters, who's a total douchebag, is like a character, he's a person, there's layers to him, he's not just the main love interest, and stuff happens that creates a bigger paradox for the main character, and it's so heartwarming, but so real at points, and it does balance both the drama and comedy genres absolutely perfectly. I don't think this film could be done any other way. If it was done by anyone else, it wouldn't have been good, and it doesn't, I'm trying to word this in I don't want to sound insensitive, but it doesn't sound like, it does cover social issues with feminism, and basically just like how Catholicism, and because she goes to a Catholic school after her brother sees someone get shanked, and then, yeah, it covers more social issues in a very sensitive way, but makes it feel like there's stuff, and it's a reason to be there. It's not forced down your throat, it just happens. But yeah, it's beautifully shot. It has probably one of the most satisfying endings. It's very heartfelt, very heartwarming. Once again, all the performances are great. The mother-daughter relationship, magnificent. This film is incredibly well written. It was originally a 350-page script, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, don't quote me on that. But that's what I read somewhere. But yeah, Lady Bird, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. It does get to a point where it gets a little too realistic. In the point where, if you've ever gotten in a fight with your parents, the last hour or half hour will crush you and hit you like a train. That's not a bad thing. That means she really gets in the darkness of it. And I'm a guy. This is like this is a movie about women. Moving on to college, I haven't been to college. I haven't had to deal with that stuff yet. But it's just the way that they portray the familial relationships is really compelling and really realistic, that if you haven't seen this film, go watch it. If you're having any doubts, don't. I mean, I shouldn't be retroactively recommending an art film to, I don't know, like, I feel like once around 12, 13, that's the age that you can watch it. Because if you're 8 and you're watching this, you might be bored out of your mind, but you have to be if you have that, at least small portions of specific relationship and stuff, then you will understand and grasp onto the stuff that happens in there, and it won't ever leave you. This film, I don't think, is ever going to leave my mind. It's still fresh in my mind, and I still remember a lot of things about it, and it's currently the 5th of February, 2022, as I'm filming this, and I watched it on the 1st or 2nd, I'm not sure, but yeah, that's my review of Lady Bird, and I don't regret watching this. If you haven't watched it, once again, just go watch it. Like, it's A24, but it's probably the most laid-back A24 film. It doesn't lean into the weirdest, and like, A24 horror, I've been very adamant on the fact that I love A24 horror. Hereditary, Midsommar, Lighthouse, Witch, not Lighthouse, but The Witch, I need to rewatch The Lighthouse, don't get me wrong, it's a decent film. But the horror aspect, it leans into the more weirdness, so it's nice to see A24 do something along the lines of one of my favorite films, The Disaster Artist, like this, where it balances it out, and it just feels like it's just a nice, refreshing, and it feels very original, which I really like, because it was a nice watch. That's it. It's a lot of people's favorite, and if you don't like it, Karsten Runquist's Letterboxd reviews, don't like it, grow up. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I do think that if you don't relate to it, then I understand how you couldn't like it, because it does, at some point, it does rely on the relatability of the characters, of the relationships that's portrayed, of the sequences, and like losing friends and friendship and stuff. But if you haven't dealt with that, or even a small portion of that, it's not going to hit you as hard as if you have, but it's still a really well-made film from a filmmaking standpoint, performance, screenplay, all of that in general. It's an absolutely wonderful film. So this is going to be the first part. I guess I am doing a semi-dual review, but I did not call it that because I'm going to be doing callbacks when I review Little Woman, which is up next. If you've done my rating system, a golden ticket is an 8 out of 10 to a 9 out of 10, and a trophy is 9.5 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10. Now, I know I didn't say anything bad about Lady Bird, but I don't want to call it one of my favorite movies just yet. It might get a higher rating. It might go maybe to a 10 eventually, because I've been very generous lately. But it's just, maybe it hasn't completely sunken in, so I haven't had necessarily enough time to appreciate it, but I think as I get older and as this film becomes more popular, then yeah. So I'm going to give it, oh god, this is really out of shape right now, but I'm going to give Lady Bird a 9 out of 10. It's a great movie. There's no flaws with it. I don't want to say it's up there just yet. I'm going to let it sink in. Like, Whiplash was immediately my favorite. There was no doubt about it. But I just wanted this one to sink in and just let it sit for a little while. And then maybe when I rewatch it, it may be my favorite, or I may like it less or more. We'll see. But yeah. 9 out of 10, golden ticket. Moving on. Little Woman is Greta Gerwig's second solo-directed film. And let me tell you, I had doubts about it. I did watch the Karsten Runquist Lady Bird vs. Little Woman, which actually boosted my confidence that I was going to enjoy this film. Because on paper, Little Woman is if you're not interested in the story, it's boring. But it's, once again, it has to be done by the right person, because it's been done over hundreds of times. Not hundreds, but it's been done a lot of times. And I've only seen this version. This is my first introduction to the story, and I think it was a great movie just on its own. I don't know how great of it as an adaptation. I heard they changed the ending. But this is probably one of the best shot films to come out in recent years. I mean, like, it's no 2001 Kubrick or anything, but it has this specific charm to it. And it's kind of like The Green Knight in cinematography, except The Green Knight is much slower. Little Woman, the main characters are very compelling. Each performance is, I don't want to say it's as relatable. That's what kind of loses me on this one. It doesn't have that sense of relatability to Lady Bird. Like, if you don't grow up with a bunch of sisters, I do not. It's not going to hit you as well. And, yeah, it's not as great as a movie as Lady Bird. It definitely has severe, it definitely deals with some character issues, as in, like, I honestly cannot stand Florence Pugh's character in some circumstances. It does, what I do like is that it shows the film kind of hops back and forth, and it shows the two sets of maturity, and it does that by telling with color. But also, the performances play into that, and then after a while you start to get the main message and start to get the story. And it is very wholesome and really well done. But it does suffer from Timothée Chalamet. For some reason, both of her movies, he kind of plays this annoying, kind of just a jerk at some points. Like, the guy in Lady Bird he play, I forgot his name, wasn't that great of a character. Little Woman, he's more of a character himself. He's plays Laurie or Teddy or whatever. But Little Woman, the relationships, it's not as great as Lady Bird. It doesn't feel as realistic, and the dialogue is not that great. And it definitely does, at some moments, it is very shoehorny dialogue with social issues, with, like, as a woman. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing, but it wasn't done as well as other films have done it. It didn't feel as subtle. It felt kind of forced at some points. And that's how a lot of this dialogue, the character moments feel. This has some of the best acting, though, and some of the best shot and best just directed sequences in general. The relationships are really compelling. I do like the ending. And it is a very satisfying and really inspiring and ambitious film. And I do respect it. I do think Lady Bird is a much more enjoyable film, but a good chunk of this movie, the darker tone, at some points it gets a little too inspiring and too joyful near the end, and especially when it's not as smoothly transition, but it's so beautifully shot, and has some of the greatest performances. It has Emma Watson, Saoirse Ronan, Florence Pugh, who's great, Timothée Chalamet, Meryl Streep at some points, and Laura Dern. All of them are great in this movie. It all just kind of relies on your enjoying of the story. I absolutely enjoyed the hell out of this film, but I can find a little bit more flaws in this than I could in Lady Bird, but I'm still, okay, yeah, I'm gonna give it the same rating, a 9 out of 10, a golden ticket. Roll clip. I'm still going to give it the same rating just because of the technical aspects are so well done that it gets that priority of being back up there. Because the story's great, it's just, there's some moments that are just, they don't fit in as well, but it all balances out. If there's not enough of this, there's enough of that. It's like a whole balancing thing. Yeah, that's where it starts to drone on. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That's my review of both of Greta Gerwig's films. I think she's slowly becoming one of my favorite filmmakers. I hope that this unscripted video didn't do awful, as in, because my social network video, it felt more unhinged and just more loose. I like that feeling, but my videos like the Hamilton, Napoleon, they just didn't sink in well. So I really hope this is a good back to formula for me. Yeah, but I look like a wreck right now. That's it. I loved these films. Both same rating, but one better than the other. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for watching. I don't know, I'm not calling this a dual review. I guess the title's fine. Yeah, sorry. Thank you guys so much for watching. Stay gold, everyone. Stay gold, everyone.